2021. What a year. I think it's fair to say it was much better than 2020, but then again, that isn't really saying much.
What if we have a potential pandemic on our hands? Oh shit.
The one thing that I think everyone can agree on, though, is that we definitely saw an improvement in entertainment. More movies and shows were able to come out as theaters were opening back up again, which is pretty neat. It was great to see some of the major releases that were pushed back from the previous year, while other major releases got pushed back to 2022, so yeah. Now, in all fairness, I haven't seen that many films from 2021, so I'm not going to do a top 10 list like a lot of other YouTubers. I'm just going to talk about a few movies and TV shows that came out that I really liked. Alrighty then, let's start the video off by talking about my favorite movie of 2021, which is Mitchells vs. the Machines is an absolutely fantastic animated film brought to us by none other than Sony Pictures Animation, a studio that has really gotten their act together in recent years. The story is centered around the titular Mitchells, a weird and wacky family filled with a variety of colourful characters. You have the son who is obsessed with dinosaurs, the dog that can't get his eyes to look straight, and the daughter who is obsessed with movies to the point where she makes her own ones at home. Which is really cool, not gonna lie. I wished I had the creativity to do that too, but oh well. Both Katie and her father Rick have grown distant over the years, as they have very different interests, and as such are unable to really relate with each other anymore. Meanwhile, a technology company called PAL has designed robots that are essentially personal butlers that can do any task you ask them to, but the robots turn against humanity and decide they want to rid the world of humans with what might possibly be one of the funniest plans to take over the world I've ever seen. It's so hilarious that I honestly won't ruin it here, and that's easily one of the best aspects of this movie, the comedy. Not only are there a wide variety of jokes that range from verbal to visual to character-based, but several that just seem like throwaway jokes early on actually come back into the story later in a variety of clever ways. If I'm being honest, it's right up there with Shrek 2 as being one of the greatest animated comedy films I've ever seen, which is no small feat. But on top of the movie being hilarious, it also has a very relatable conflict at its center. I don't think I'm giving much away when I say that the father and daughter do eventually reconnect with one another whilst experiencing this extremely insane chain of events, but the way in which this all unfolds and develops within the story feels genuine and is really wholesome. There's a really nice speech that Katie gives towards the end of the movie that I think just sums it up in a way that is really sweet, really wholesome, and can resonate with any person of any age. I also love the fact that we now have a mainstream animated film with an LGBTQ protagonist that is defined by more than just the fact that they are a minority. Katie is just such an enjoyable and relatable character in her own right. A bit of an oddball, sure, but she isn't ashamed of it and is passionate about creating movies and making all these drawings and just, oh man, this is just such a fun character. The movie is up on Netflix as well as DVD, and I highly recommend checking it out, as it honestly is just really, really good. And if you enjoy it, I also highly recommend checking out Summer Wars, another animated film that mixes themes of both family and technology in unconventional yet clever ways. Okay, now on to my second favorite movie of 2021, which is I've already done an entire video talking about this movie before, so I won't go on too long about it, but my thoughts are honestly still the same. I still stand by that it's the best live-action Spider-Man movie, as well as second best Spider-Man movie overall after Into the Spider-Verse. It's the most fun I've had watching a comic book movie in the theater since probably Avengers Endgame, and it honestly made me really come to appreciate Tom Holland's portrayal of the character, now that I can see what the previous two films were building up to. I'm not sure if this is going to be an unpopular opinion or not, but I honestly now think that Tom Holland might actually be my favorite Spider-Man. He obviously is very different from the version portrayed in the comics, as well as the other two Spider-Man series, but I think the character has been able to still capture the true essence of what Spider-Man really is, a boy turning into a man. This series is the only one that I think has been able to successfully pull this off in a way where the character feels as if they have grown from the beginning of their first film to the end of their last one, and in a way that feels natural. Sure, there's no Uncle Ben, but I like to think of this as an alternate version or reimagining of the character that has gone through a different series of events, yet ultimately goes through the same character arc. I'm sure some people may disagree with me on this, but in my eyes, this is my personal favourite. Okay, so now I'm going to go over a few other films that I also thought were really good, but not enough to talk at length about. Luca was really charming and likeable, being very reminiscent of the works of Studio Ghibli, and honestly ranks up as one of my top 10 favourite Pixar films. The Suicide Squad was really fun and entertaining with its simple yet weird premise, and also has some of the best action sequences of the year. Raya and the Last Dragon would have been amazing if it wasn't for that annoying ass dragon, but whatever, it's still really good despite that in my opinion. And I'll also mention Ghostbusters Afterlife, which acted as a great continuation of the original Ghostbusters film, and was also pretty fun and entertaining in its own right. If you want to know my thoughts on all the other movies I saw from 2021, I made up this ranking on Letterboxd, which you can check out if you click the link in the video's description. Hopefully next year my ranking will be a bit longer and I can talk about more movies, but whatever. Now let's talk about TV, in particular one show that gave my favourite TV season of the year, which is The Owl House is an amazing animated show created by Dana Terrace, who previously worked on Gravity Falls, which is another amazing show you should totally check out. It's really good and stuff. Anyway, back to Owls in the House. The show centers around a young girl named Luz, who is considered a weird social outcast that obsesses over fantasy stories and all that jazz. She discovers a portal that takes her to a place called the Boiling Isles, where magic, witches, and wizards exist. She meets a rebellious witch named Ida and a tiny demon named King, and from there she goes on to meet other witches, learn magic, and all that fun sort of stuff. The best way I can describe this show is a mix of Harry Potter and Spirited Away. It creates a world with its own history and lore, and introduces us to a variety of memorable characters. And while on the surface level it may just seem like your standard kids show, I really do stand by that this is very much on the same level as Avatar: The Last Airbender, in terms of being surprisingly very adult. Initially, in the first half of the show's first season, it does start off fairly simple, with a lot of episodic storylines that are somewhat whimsical and lighthearted. But as the season continues, things start to change, and a lot more dramatic themes and complex ideas start to emerge. And by the time the second season comes around, you really do feel as if the stakes have been raised, the drama has been upped, and the characters are going through much harsher situations than they have before. On top of that, this show might honestly have one of the best romantic couples I've ever seen in a Disney movie or show. If I'm being totally honest, the only other Disney couple that I can think of that might top it is Wall-E and Eve, which is straight up one of the best romantic couples I've ever seen in film, so that's some high praise right there. I won't say who the characters are, as otherwise that would be ruining one of the best aspects of the show, but all I'll say is, goddammit, the two of them are absolutely adorable and work off each other's personalities unbelievably well. I am super psyched for the second half of Season 2, which will hopefully be coming out this year, to see how the story will continue, and how these characters are going to be further developed. For the love of God, please watch this show. It's up on Disney Plus and only has 29 episodes at the moment, so it isn't a huge time commitment, but I strongly recommend it. It's easily one of the best animated kids shows I've ever seen, and is honestly the best thing Disney Animation has put out since Gravity Falls, in my opinion. Look at that, I referenced something I talked about at the beginning of this segment. Wow. Oh yeah, I also watched Season 5 of Rick and Morty, which was alright, I guess. Some of the episodes were really good, and others weren't. I'll give it a 6 out of 10, still was better than Season 4. Anywho, that's about it. I'm gonna go and watch the next Disney film I have planned. I think it's called Alice in Wonderland, which may or may not be a clue to a future video I have planned in the near future or something, I don't know. Okay, bye.
Hey, wait a minute.